Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show. I'm so glad that you're sharing this time with us, and I hope that the world is treating you right now, that you're doing all the things, that life is going well for you, and we are so happy that you're sharing some time with us today. I'm also excited to introduce you to our guest today. We have Karl Boroski, who is the Executive Director of Rope Youth with us. Karl, thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me. I'm excited about it.
I am too, because I have been following you on social media for quite some time now, and so impressed by all the things that you do for the youth in our area. And I cannot wait to hear your story on how you got to where you are today. So before we do that, I do want to say a special thank you real quick to our sponsors. We appreciate you. Thank you so much to Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap and Cup, and JoinCapClub.com. I also want to thank all of you that have shared our podcast with your friends, with your family. Those numbers are going up. We're reaching more people, and that's the goal. We want to reach as many people as we can. We want to help inspire and encourage and motivate and educate on all the great things that are happening here in West Texas. So thank you so much for doing that. Speaking of doing all those things, Karl Boroski does all those things. He inspires, he encourages, and he also has an amazing nonprofit organization. So Karl, let's just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about how you got to West Texas.
Man, so it's funny because a lot of people they want to hear the story, but like really don't know like the beginning of it or how it got there. So I appreciate the platform to talk about it. But how I got to West Texas was I used to be an executive with the Boy Scouts and just got a promotion here. And, that's how I got here from where I was previously.
And that was what, Pennsylvania?
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And that's how I got here to West Texas. And then, worked for the Boy Scouts a little bit. And then some of the, my plans or whatever changed when, I always found myself wanting to work with at-risk kids, and took a leap and just started my own nonprofit. And I think I've been, in Midland 12 years, and so things have just blossomed for me and for my programs and for the reach I'm able to have for kids here. So
was it something you knew you wanted to do growing up in Pennsylvania, or how did you come down this path?
So let me tell you, the kids that I serve, I was basically one of those kids that I serve. So so have like the empathy from the understanding, so if we're going back, like my earliest parts of being a kid, I remember being homeless as a kid, with my mom and my sister. And when I say homeless, I mean like we were like stick house to house, staying with people, maybe a shelter or something. And that was like my earliest memories of a kid. And then things just kind of went crazy for me in my life after that. My mom was into stuff like, kids shouldn't see or kids shouldn't do, or I shouldn't have been a part of.
You grew up way too early.
And my earliest kind of like wake up in my life was I saw my mom give my sister to a man. Like she gave my sister away to a man. And then I went on a little bit with my mom, just kind of going around, but still at the point, probably being like 5 or so at that age. And it's like, knew it was weird that I was not with my sister or she wasn't with us. And then it just came that one day my mom just like abandoned me, so I was abandoned. I'm, 5 years old and walking around, and the police picked me up, and I started a little journey of living in foster homes. So, it was this kind of weird situation, but like I said, that's the basic start of the story. It gets better, and the story kind of grows and gets better, but that was like the basic early child memories of how things got started for me.
And that's truly where your heart and passion for what you do started.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
You understand the children that you're helping today.
Definitely.
You understand the path they've been down. What helped you get, because you said that the journey gets better.
Yes.
What was it, tell me, were there key people in your life, were there
Yes.
mentors that changed your life, and how did they do that?
So my story was like, so basically being in the foster home, and it was just like a tough situation because I wouldn't talk to the parents or whatever. If they had kids, I would talk to them because all I wanted was, I was hoping that my mom would come back for me. It's like, she's coming, you're not my parents. And, some of the foster homes, there was multiple kids in there, and it was just like a sad time for me. I wouldn't eat at the table. Yeah. I would come down at night, get food. The people, I was so crazy, like they couldn't make me take a bath. They couldn't make me do nothing because I was fighting it. And so they would get tired of me, and then I would go to another foster home. And then I'd kind of live that life a little bit. And then one day, this lady came, got me. I remember the little green suitcase I had. And we got on a plane. She took me on a plane, came and got me. And I lived with this lady, and I lived with this man that was a soldier. He was a soldier. And then right away, it was like, oh, you taking a bath, like made me get a bath or gave me a bath.
Right.
And then after a while, I was like, I'll just do it. But I lived with this man and this woman, and it was the very first time where there was no other kids there. So this lady broke me down. That was like, I feel like I was like the first time I ever had like a physical like hug or like physical touch, like where it was, and the attention was focused on me. So I lived with this man, and I lived with this woman, and come to find out, I was thinking I was in a foster home, but it was my aunt that I didn't know that had found me.
Wow.
And
I just got chills. Right?
Yeah, and I kind of get like, I really don't like I say the story home too much, but like it was my aunt, it was my aunt and my uncle. And my aunt could have been, like you could have told me like, hey, I'm Aunt so-and-so, or I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you'd have been like, okay.
Yeah,
right.
I know Mom.
Right.
So it was my aunt and my uncle that just kind of took me in, and it's kind of changed my life on things where it was like about, it wasn't, I still was alone in a big foster home with other kids. I was alone, but they made me kind of feel special and just kind of took care of me. And like I said, it was my mom's sister that had found me in foster care. And then like it goes on. I was able to find my sister like later on in life, and found my sister probably like when I was getting out of high school. Found my sister, and my sister, like she did not have the opportunity that I had. She lived with this man, not knowing like it was not her parent or whatever, and she lived that life. And the story is so crazy. Like how we ended up finding my sister was like the guy she lived with ended up like getting killed, and she was like back into the system, and it was just like a crazy story. And then like when we found her, like she hadn't really no remembrance of my mom or me. And then it was just like, here it is. So still have a relationship this day, but like, I felt like I've been able to turn around some of the things like I know that that's happened to me that I'm able to use to help other people. And I still think she's trying to find like what her meaning is, because it's I don't really know. I could just imagine the lifestyle she had. And earlier on I was able to find like some people that cared about me, and so I
call them earth angels.
I
had some earth angels, and your aunt and uncle definitely were those for you. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And now I really do, I understand your heart for giving and what you did this past summer. You fed almost 9,000 children through Rope Youth Food First, which is incredible here in West Texas. How did Rope Youth come to be, and how? Because I see the journey that got you here with the Boy Scouts, And then how did you go, this is it, this is how I want to make an impact here in the community?
Yes. So I started like just thinking, because like when, you know, if you know the Boy Scouts, Boy Scouts is a great organization.
Yes.
I got 2 sons that are Eagle Scouts, but at the time it wasn't the most inclusive things, because, you know, like it just wasn't like a minority thing to do, you know, like, you know, when I moved here, I was thinking, man, I saw that the Hispanic population in Midland was big, and I was like, oh, well, they must have all kinds of Hispanics in the Boy Scouts, and that wasn't the case. So when I worked with the Boy Scouts in the past, I was always successful, like going to like housing authorities, projects, just kind of like where other people wouldn't go.
Right.
You know,
basically just say, hey, you want to join?
I want to join, or more often I would, you know, I know that people don't have the capability of, you know, if you have a meeting at 8 o'clock, there's a lot of people that don't have the capability of driving their kid there and then picking them up. So what I started doing was taking the programs to, you know, like start a Cub Scout pack in the housing authority, or do an after school program of that. And then I went to them.
Nice.
And so it just carried on, you know, and I had this idea, I was like, I just wanted to work with kids that were like really could benefit, you know, from the programs that I've had. And then I started, you know, working with juvenile offenders, and then I have programs in the schools, in the elementary schools, and then just the feeling of it, you know. So I have this program in the elementary schools that's called Young Gentlemen's Club, and I know the name is kind of a weird. We're actually working on that, but the concept is we get 3 guys and 12 boys that don't have a dad in a school. We put the boys in a complete suit to wear.
Oh, I love it.
And it's just awesome. It's so life-changing right away. You don't have to wait for outcomes. Like months later, what happens? You can see right away how these kids are doing. And I just thrive off of that. Yeah. You know, I just like, dude, I want to do more. I want to do more.
So I say, what is that like when you see a child that you see the transformation? Because I've worked with youth in the past, and I understand when you see that light bulb click, or when you just see them turn their life around. Man. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel amazing. You know, like that's the fuel of it. So you see these kids, like, you know, normally they're going to give you kids that need it. So my time working, I've come down to 2 things. One is fatherlessness, and the other is food insecurity. That I think if you could solve those kind of issues, a kid can go a long way. Obviously, just in society today, it's more common that you wouldn't have a dad than you were have a dad or a complete family, and it's just crazy, you know. So I know that feeling of like not having a dad, and not only did I not have a dad, you know, I didn't even know who my dad was. It's like I couldn't, like, you know, search him out or whatever. So I know that feeling of the fatherlessness, and I know how important it is for a male to be in a boy's life, to shape him, and not just a boy's, a girl. It's important for a father to be in their kids' lives, and so that's what I've turned around in my life, because you know, after you know, my sons were born, that's what I was all about. Is like, hey, I want to be the best father that I can. I want my sons to be successful. I want them to be good fathers. And then so far, I've been able to check those boxes. You know, I was going to say, I think you're doing that. Yeah, you are doing that for sure. Yeah, and I think I've done good. You know, my older son is a high school teacher and a coach in Tucson, Arizona, and he's married. I have 2 granddaughters. Oh. And then my younger son is married, and he finished you know, his bachelor's degree, master's degree, and now he's in law school at Texas A&M. So here it is, you know, like, you know, their life didn't have to be like my life. And then now, since this all has been happening, as far as like my sons are, you know, like I'm empty nest, I'm just gung-ho about like, hey, my wife understands, and I'm just like gung-ho about doing all I can to impact somebody else's life now.
I love that.
So,
and you're stopping the cycle.
yes,
and that's so important. I want to circle back to that in
Yeah.
a minute. Really quick, we want to do our quote of the
Okay.
day. I told you I was a big quote person, and I can't wait to hear what this quote means to you. So let's mix them up a little and go
Okay.
pull one out.
I'm gonna get one here. Here we go.
All right, which one did you
Oh,
get?
so it says learn.
Oh, the learn quote. Yes.
Wow.
All right. So what does it say? If you can't read my writing, I
Okay.
understand, and I'll read
So
it
it
for you.
says the comfortable road will never lead you to the person you are desired to be in life. Never. Did I say that right?
I believe so. The comfortable road will never lead to the person you are destined to be in your life. Never.
Okay.
Let. Yes. So basically, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah,
to grow.
yeah.
What does that quote mean to you?
Man, so that quote means to me, just thinking about it, is I feel like you do have to step out, because normally people will go through their life, and I could talk to somebody, like just meeting somebody and tell them what I do, and they are shocked that like there are kids that are like that in Midland. Like there's kids that are hungry, and it's like so. People do have to step out of their comfort zone, and always say like, since it's a quote kind of deal, is like, you can't help everyone, but everybody can help somebody.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to take on a big task, maybe like what I had, but if you could help one person or reach down and help somebody else, I think that's what we're called to do, and it doesn't need to be on a large scale. It could be as small as, helping somebody in your neighborhood, or a nephew like my aunt and uncle did, or somebody else,
Or a coworker,
or
yes.
something, because a lot of people, I see a lot of people, they want to do something, but they just don't know where to start, or they just don't know what to do. And then how I am, I'm just like, and I hear something, I just want to jump on it. I just want to leap on it. I was like, man, I don't want to be in an organization that talks about something for weeks and weeks. I was like, man, let's just go do it.
Yes.
And figure it out. And that's how the Food First program really came about. And it's just like, wow, how amazing that has been. It started with me finding out about food insecurity, finding out about some kids. We normally have programs, and we bring food to the programs, and then one time we talked in the school system,
Okay.
and then we talked to some kids. Like we forgot I didn't get the food that day, and they were like, we're like, go get lunch, and it came through it like, oh, I can't get my lunch because I owe money, and I was like, what? So all that came about was like, what's all this about? So I went to the school. It was Alamo. I went to the school, and I was like, I'm just gonna pay these kids money, you know what I mean? And then it came out to like, hey, how much does the whole school owe? And then I was like, oh, well, I found out like it was like, $2,000 that the whole school owed. And then it just snowballed from there. And then right before COVID, like the first year that I found out about this, I was able just like to raise enough money to pay like 10 schools' lunch debts.
That's
and
incredible.
Then the following year, right before, COVID happened, and the lunch debt was $60,000. And then we were able to raise $60,000 and pay off every single school's lunch debt.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. And that was just by having that attitude.
Just having that.
Just, let's do it.
In that circumstances. And then it got to where we started like, okay, then we started as an organization. There's a lot of organizations and churches that provide weekend food to kids. Mm-hmm. So we took on 3 schools. And then it came to the point where it was like, man, I wonder what these kids do in the summertime. And then there was the idea about the food truck, so,
Yes.
And it's crazy how like God works on things, because we were like, is an idea like in April, and then June we were feeding kids out of a food truck.
That's incredible.
And I think that first year, the first year we were able to, we served close to 5,000 out of the food truck, and we were so geeked, We're like, man, that was so amazing.
Let's do more. Yeah. Let's keep going. Right.
Like, let's do more. And then with a year of planning, we were able to, get the word out more. And it was just so overwhelming this summer. We also did a bookmobile, and we gave kids like 4,300 books. We put in kids' hands, and we had a lot of partners on that. The Permian Basin Literacy Coalition and a lot of foundations helped us buy books, and we gave books and food to kids. So
I love what you're doing, and I want to kind of circle back because we talked a little bit about it before we went to break, but the cycle, because I think it is so important to break the cycles.
Yeah.
What message are you hoping that you're getting across to all of the youth that you're coming in contact with? What is that message?
So a message is, I don't know how, I can give a message to a kid and the hope to a kid that, so my life, I have a story that I could tell them and empathize with them.
Right.
My story really don't compare to some of these stories that I hear. It's like, wow, I've been, I was able to, one of the things, so I was able to go to college. I graduated from college, and then my message to them is like, man, it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. And so my biggest encouragement to kids that are growing up and they might not have the best family structure there is just like, your parent's life doesn't have to be your life. Because every parent wants their child to do better than they have, even if they start off, dirt poor or they're super rich. Everybody wants their kid to do better than they have.
It's true.
So to a kid is their life, your life doesn't have to be your parents' life, and you could break that cycle. And but it's not like, I never grew up with somebody telling me, talking about college,
right,
or talking about doing a career. I've never had that. And so we like to encourage kids, like, you could do these things. Like in our Young Gentlemen's Club, we'll take a group of boys to an oil company and meet their executives. Wow. And meet people that they work with and be like, this is not such a far-fetched thing. Mm-hmm. You could do well in your life if you have a little preparation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Start acting right. If you're the guys in school that you're not acting the way you should. You could change that right away, mm-hmm, and your whole projection of your life can change that day, and you could be on a whole other route to do something if you have somewhat of a plan.
Yes. I love that you're opening their eyes to seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
Because unless and a lot of kids don't know that that's out there, that's obtainable for them until someone like you says, you can do this.
Yes.
And I feel like every kid needs to hear, you can do this.
Yes.
And you are loved. And if those two things are poured into them, and then all the other things that you're teaching them in the Gentlemen's Club and beyond, they can do anything in this world. And I love that you're doing that right here in West Texas. I think that's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And like I said, it definitely makes me, because people always ask me, it's people ask me, they think I'm super organized. They're like, man, you do all this stuff. When do you sleep? I was like, I get my sleep. I'm not that organized. Just the efforts that I make are just like I can impact somebody. Like I'll see a kid, maybe like once a week, but that is, that's pretty impactful. If a kid can count on seeing you, or like these other adults, like my main. When I look for volunteers I get 3 more adults, I could start another program. My whole thing is the commitment. Mm-hmm. It's like, every week, this time, you need to be there, because you could go 5 times and miss once, and the whole thing could be messed up, because the kids are just, before they let you in, they're waiting for you to let them down, because that's what they're used to.
That's what history has shown them.
So and I'm feeling amazing right now just talking about it, man, just thinking about some of the things. And that's just what these kids do. Like once you get that connection with them, so we have people that have done Young Gentlemen's Clubs in 4th grade, and they're moving with them to 5th grade. And these kids know they have somebody. You know, they know that they have somebody that they can confide in, or if they have needs, they can let these guys know. And it's just been, I think it's you know, we do a lot of things, but I think it's so impactful and such immediate. You see the fruit of what you have done just immediately.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for our question of the day. We're going to ask you a question, and I can't believe we're already running out of time. It goes by so fast. I told you it's going to go by fast. All right, you got the giving card, which is so appropriate for you because you give so much of your time and your love. What inspires you in tough situations?
Wow. So in tough situations, so like I've done things and I've like I said, my story has grown to where, okay, there's a lot of normalcy in my life, but I also, you know, I was talking to you before and like how we met is like I have a little homeless ministry. And then knowing like what I feel like, man, you know, I wish I had a better car. I wish my house was a little bit bigger. You know, there's a lot of things that just like as everybody comes up and are focused on things that I want, you know, seeing like going out and seeing somebody that they're like literally laying in the back of a dumpster or you know, whatever they're doing, laying in a field, it just changes your perspective of like, it just changes your perspective of like what you need. And you know, and then like on the giving part, man, you don't have to give financially. You know, a guy once told me about the 3 things like time, talent, treasure. You know, it's like you got time, and how precious is that? And then there's people that, you know, there are people that are, you know, they are busy with life. They are so busy with life, so busy with kids. But the treasure part, to allow volunteers of mine and then like even me, like giving that treasure to help support that is just great. And then if you have a special talent, like, you know about financial literacy, you're doing this and you can come in and share that with kids, or about leadership. So there's a lot of different ways you can give.
It doesn't always have to be financial.
It doesn't always have to be financial. The hardest thing, you know, the easiest thing to probably get is financial. The hardest thing is like getting somebody to come is like that set half hour a week or whatever. Right. But every guy, I would say every person that I've have, man, they get so much out of it. Man, you just leave, you walk out of there better than you walked in, and you're just so encouraged and so enthused. So
I think that's fantastic. And I always at the end of each show ask which nonprofit organization you would like us to give a donation to on behalf of the Krista Escamilla Show. So Karl Boroski, which one would you like us to give to?
There are a lot of amazing organizations out there, but obviously I've been here today and this platform is for Rope Youth. So I would say like, hey, reach out to me, Rope Youth. You know, we do a lot of amazing things. I talked about this Young Gentlemen's Club, and this fall we're actually starting a female version of that called the Young Ladies League. So we need ladies, we need guys, we need volunteers, but we also need you know, finances, you know, because we give the kids, you know, when they come to the meeting, we're giving them, you know, blazer, shirt, tie. One of our first lessons is shoes. So hey, I know I babbled on about that, and I guess I shouldn't be shy. I would say give those funds to Rope Youth.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We will. And in conclusion, I want to ask, I always ask also at the end of the show, is there anything we didn't get to talk about that you're like, oh man, I wish I would have said that, or I wish we could have maybe dove into that a little bit deeper. Is there anything?
Yes. So everything is going good right now, but we could definitely use, you know, if you hear you heard my story, you have a similar story. Man, these kids, it's really works working with kids when you're relatable. And if you have a story kind of like mine, reach out to me, you know. So I appreciate you having me.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And I have to tell you, Karl, so many people told me that you needed to be on the show.
Awesome.
And so your story is amazing and is so encouraging and uplifting. And if there was one word that you wanted every person to know about helping youth today, or that you would want the youth to know, what do you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, I use that word commitment. You know, I mean, it's hard, it's easy to get into a lot of things, but man, if you commit to something, like literally, like this program is like half an hour a week.
Right.
You know, you could commit to that, and you're reaching down and you're helping somebody else. And then another word is like, you know, being real intentional with that time.
Yes.
You know, we're gonna have, you know, something you talk to about a kid. You know, you're gonna talk to a kid about, you know, one of the first things is like teaching a kid like the manners thing. Yes, sir. No, sir. Shaking hands, looking them in the eye.
Yes.
That can go a long way.
Yes.
And if you don't have somebody to tell you that, you don't know. You know, and even it could start.
You don't know what you don't know.
It can start right away, going back to the teacher. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, they're like, whoa, okay. So
Love that.
commitment
and
being intentional. There
Thank
you go.
you so much,
So-
Karl Boroski, for being on the show today. Follow him on Rope Youth on Facebook. Are you on Instagram too?
Yeah, I'm on
all the things.
Yeah, mostly I have a Rope Youth page. You know, and I'm one of those guys too. Is like, hey, I'm trying to get to that digital age, but I know I'm on Facebook. I always post on Facebook. We have a page. We have a website, and I encourage people, if you. I'm real approachable. It's like, hey, you find my number, call me.
Yes.
And we could talk about how you know, you can be involved.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for sharing your story and for what you're doing in our community.
Well, I appreciate it.
Because of people like you and your volunteers, our community becomes a better place. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening today. We appreciate you as well, because your time is precious. We were talking about time, and we know how precious time is. So thank you for sharing your time with us today. Please feel free to share our show. We want this to reach as many people as possible because we want to help as many people as possible. You know my life mottos, right? Dream big, believe in yourself, and never give up. And you make it a great day. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.